Deze podcast is powered by ACC ICT, de nummer 1 Kubernetes specialist van Nederland.
What's up, everybody? Super stoked to be here at Edgecase 2024. You are hanging out with Ronald and Jan at the also awesome podcast that I can't say correctly, but it's the coolest Dutch podcast in the universe. Check it out. They're talking to some of the awesome guests that are here. Out of 500 attendees, they're speaking to some of the best ones. Check it out.
Welkom bij de Nederlandse Kubernetes Podcast. De podcast over Kubernetes voor iedereen. Ik ben Ronald Kers en ik zit zoals altijd met...
Hallo Ronald.
Jan Stomphorst, Solutions Architect bij ACC ICT.
Hey, is dit de 5e of 6e of 7e opname?
Ik ben het al kwijt. Het is zo leuk, ik ga niet eens meer tellen.
Oh, dat is mooi.
Dus we hebben weer een mooie gast gevonden op de beursvloer. En she is also a cloud native human. I saw on LinkedIn, and an actor. So I would like to introduce Lian Li. Welcome.
Hello.
Hey. And Lian, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
You already did.
Yes.
My name is Lian, and I am a cloud native human, as are we all, aren't we? Yes, I've been working in tech for like 16, 17 years or something. I took a little bit of a break this year to pursue performance art. So I've been doing some acting, some like musical theater, doing some stand-up comedy, but now I'm back because I need to feed myself, you know.
Okay. And how did you get started in the IT?
I got into it as a PHP developer. I'm from Germany. This was in Hamburg. I was working with a games company, was doing like back-end stuff there, PHP. And then I gradually moved to the front end, did some like front-end JavaScript stuff there. Then I moved back to back-end, then infrastructure, then containers. And at some point, there was this thing called Kubernetes and Docker. And then I was like, oh, this is interesting. And if you put Kubernetes on your CV, suddenly you make much more money. I moved to the Netherlands. I found a job in like a cloud native consultancy thing. And since then, I've been doing cloud native.
Okay. And was it the game studio we all know? Or is it...
I don't think so. It's called BigPoint.
Okay.
They're doing browser games. I don't know. It's not my proudest moment, I guess. But I don't, unless you play like these kinds of games, I don't think.
We all the Yeti and the penguins and that kind of stuff.
Actually, my very first job in tech, I was still at university. I was studying law at that time. It was also a browser game about like homeless people on the street, and they would like fight their way up to become the king of the homeless people. And it was super successful in Germany.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. And they were also donating money to homeless people, which then made it okay, I guess. But that was the first time I did anything in IT.
Yeah, there may be some moral implications there.
Maybe, but we don't take those things that seriously there.
So you also have a talk here, secret management, the soft way.
The soft way.
Can you tell us a little bit about that talk?
It's quite like nowadays I don't do very technical talks anymore, but this talk is a bit older. It's quite technical. I'm going to do a live demo, which I'm very nervous about, obviously. I have sacrificed to the live demo gods earlier. But it will be about explaining some ways that you can manage your secrets in Kubernetes, so they are actually secret. But I think the overarching story is about there's not the right technology to solve a specific problem, but more like you need to understand how your organization works and how the people in your organization like to work and do things. And based on that, you can make a good decision about your technology. But no way is like generally better, is objectively the better way.
But what is the good decision then?
Well, you will have to come and see the talk.
and our listeners then?
The good decision is to first find out how people like to work and what their capabilities are. You know, what kind of tech stack do they use? How mature is the organization? How mature are the engineers? You don't want to build something that's super sophisticated and then no one can use it. It doesn't matter how great your solution is if no one's able to use it, right? And I think that's what, as like platform engineers, we've come to learn is that it doesn't matter how great your platform is. If you never talk to a single engineer, they're probably not going to be able to like use it if it's not according to their needs. And so that will be kind of like woven into the talk. But I'm also just going to show like 2 ways to manage your secrets.
And what are those 2 ways to manage your secrets then?
So one way is with sealed secrets, which is a way to, encrypt your secrets, and then you can put your encrypted secrets into, let's say, a Git repository if we're doing GitOps, which is what I'm focusing on. The other way is to manage your secret in a separate place like Vault or, I don't know, KMS or like some kind of cloud identity management system, and then pick up that secret and then put it in your cluster. So you will not put the secret.
The secrets are in your cluster, and they're still.
Well, at the end, the secrets will be in your cluster because they end up as Kubernetes secrets.
Kubernetes secrets. So there's nothing sealed in the Kubernetes secret.
Exactly. So one way is you would put them sealed into your repository. The other way is that you put a reference to the secrets in your repository, but the secret itself is stored somewhere else. Those are the 2 ways. Obviously, there are more ways to do it, but these are the 2 ways that I'm talking about.
And what is the best way of those?
It depends on your organization. If you're just like, if your focus is not on security and not on secrets, and you just need to like play around, experiment, I think sealed secrets is a great way to just get started. So you can focus, you can just get that out of the way and focus on something else. But if you are thinking about compliance and about like really sensitive data on production, you probably want to think about something like Vault. You don't have to, think about rotating your keys and all of those things. If you're using sealed secrets, you have to actually manage the secrets in some way. And that is just a headache that you might not want to have, depending on the maturity of your organization.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's no right answer to this.
That's
It's always the thing.
Honestly,
it depends on
well,
the
Situation,
but
you
if
know?
there was a simple solution to these questions, then we wouldn't be making that much money, would we? Right? We wouldn't need to like do this for 10 years and then be like, it depends.
But it should be much easier that Kubernetes is storing the secrets base 46 encoded, not encrypted. Nothing is encrypted.
No. That's not the point of Kubernetes. It's not encrypting any. Well, that's not what it's supposed to do, right?
Yeah, but you can also see that people are expecting more and more and more as the product matures.
I think people are expecting Kubernetes to be a platform in itself, and that's not what it is. It's more of a sophisticated container runtime, maybe, and it's not gonna solve these kinds of really organizational problems for you. I think that secret management is in many ways like an organizational problem. And you need alignment across the organization about how you're dealing with secrets, certificates, general security, and compliance questions. So I think a lot of people think that you can use a technology to solve organizational and interhuman problems, just like throw some Kubernetes on it and you'll be fine. And then they buy something and then they end up with this mess because no one actually thought about anything. They're just like, just let some other idiot deal with it, This is future me's problem, kind of like. Right? So, that's why a part of my talk is also talking about like, you actually have to think about these things also, because technology is only there to help you solve a problem, but not necessarily like to actually solve it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But it is like Kubernetes not more helping you to solve the problem, that people have to work in a more structured way to get their application in their production environment. Because if I, for example, in the past, we had just a production machine. It's Linux. We logged on the machine, did a git pull, or not even copied the binary over to the production machine and just restarted the thing and it worked.
Right. And you don't have to restart anything anymore, or not manually at least.
No, nowadays we have to do a git Git pull requests, and then somebody else has to see it and has to approve, and it has to go to a pipeline. And
now you're focusing on the organizational process of release management instead of like doing the rollout yourself. Like Kubernetes just does that for you and makes sure that your service is accessible and never goes down, almost never.
It depends how you...
Well, I mean, it makes these kinds of problems much easier, for sure. Like the pure operational stuff.
It pushes people to work in a more structured way.
Yes. Isn't that good?
It's awesome. We're making Kubernetes podcast. So
But you also will have people who say, "Oh, well, I will still want that freedom. You know, I want to just have that example. I copy my binary, restart, and it works. You know, I don't want all those fuss around."
They're stupid.
I wouldn't say they're stupid, but the question would be, why is that easier for you than using something like Kubernetes or like GitOps? Like, I would ask that question because, first of all, I don't think that Kubernetes is the solution to all our problems. I really do not believe that, even though I work with the CNCF, and I kind of have to say that. But what is it that is problematic for that person? And then the next question is, okay, are those maybe problems, again, organizational problems? Maybe the GitOps process just sucks. Maybe it's just not working as intended, and you end up with, you don't get the benefits of it, and you have the whole hassle of it, right? Yeah. That could be. Maybe this person just doesn't eat their own dog food. Maybe they just don't have to deal with all the shit that goes wrong when his binary is like corrupt, or, like maybe that person just never has to maintain anything. Could be. So then again, it's kind of an organizational problem.
But there's also a skill gap because not everybody has the knowledge to deploy a cluster or maintain a cluster. Even if you, what you always say, the day two operations, you can deploy a cluster. Yeah, they can call you.
I can do that for them.
But there is more to it than just installing Kubernetes somewhere on a machine.
100%.
You need observability. You need some more stuff.
You need like buzzwords.
All the buzzwords you need. Yeah.
Oh, so something. What was the first Kubernetes version you worked with? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know. It was,
just pick a number.
2018. That's the number I can give you. I've never heard of Kubernetes. Oh, I have heard of Kubernetes, but I never worked with it. I've used Docker before, but only for my local environment, never in production. And when I joined the cloud native consultancy, I joined as a software engineer first, not as a consultant.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh, that's not that hard. That's actually not. I think there's a thing about curiosity, like you're just interested in how it works, and then you figure it out and you learn it, and then maybe you use it for a while, and it takes maybe like half a year before you actually understand it after you've already used it for quite a long time. At least that's how I learn things. And I don't know where I was going with this, but yeah, so I just kind of like got into it, and I don't have any background in like systems administration or Linux. So that's where I noticed like, okay, I don't actually understand what happens in the background. I mean, I've done my CKA, but that only gets you so far, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's, first of all, everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. And my thing is more about the usability of Kubernetes and the platform, and making tech work for you. Again, I forgot where I was going with it.
Well, the question was, what was the first version?
What was the version at that time? Like 1 point...
look at me. Because it's normally a question you ask.
Okay. Well, so we couldn't even like place my answer then. 1.6.
Yeah, you could just said something,
Yeah, right. It was probably 1.6.
16.
I can tell you the OpenShift version I used first.
Kost het beheer van Kubernetes je veel tijd en expertise? Maak kennis met ACC ICT. Zij ontzorgen je volledig met managed Kubernetes diensten op elke cloud. Gecertificeerde specialisten zorgen voor compleet beheer, 24/7 support en optimale beveiliging. Jij kunt je focussen op je core business, terwijl je Kubernetes-omgeving in betrouwbare handen is. Manage Kubernetes van ACC ICT. Jouw zorg, onze expertise. Bezoek accict.com.
Yeah, you were part or are part of CNCF.
I am, yeah. Well, part of.
What are you doing for them?
I'm a co-chair of the tag for Cloud Native App Delivery. So that's short for Technical Advisory Group. So basically the way that the CNCF is set up is there's the Technical Oversight Committee that kind of steers the technical direction. They basically say what is and isn't Cloud Native. And they need help from people with, for example, reviewing all the projects. That's a big part of what we do. I think every month or every 6 weeks or something like that, we obviously constantly get projects that want to go into like sandbox or incubation or graduation. And then the technical advisory groups or advisory boards, I think the technical advisory groups are the ones that review projects. So Crossplane was up for graduation shortly, so then they often come to our tag meetings and then they will present. And the group, which is anyone that is interested, right? There's no like limit on who can or cannot be a member of the tag. They will then discuss or ask questions about the project. And based on that discussion, we will make a recommendation to the TOC. Like, oh, this project seems very mature, or maybe this project is only being maintained by one person. That should probably not graduate, like these kinds of things. It's not as much about the technical things. Obviously, if there's, concerns about security questions or maybe like proprietary dependencies, we will raise that. But generally, it's more about the maturity of the project and do we think that it can really survive and make it and people will want to use it and adopt it. Then we also have working groups that work on specific topics. There are currently 4 working groups under our tag, which are platforms. They're super popular. Obviously, it's the buzzword of the day. There's artifacts. There is app development. And newly formed is infrastructure lifecycle. And what they do is they will work on individual scoped projects like white papers or platforms has been working on a maturity matrix. And they will just produce something. And then they will discuss, do we want to produce more? Or maybe we've done what we were set out to do, and then we become inactive. So we have an operators working group. They created a white paper. Then they were like, okay, we're done. GitOps working group, they were super successful. And they then became part of the GitOps Foundation, I think. That's its own foundation. And then they just were like, okay, we were successful, but we're ending it here with the CNCF. We're going to go somewhere else.
Okay.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, well, you get mature enough.
I mean, I think it's good. It's better to keep something alive just for the sake of keeping it alive. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's never a boring time because with all the projects coming in all the time.
Projects. I mean, it's never boring if you do volunteer work, is it?
Is it not too much projects at the moment?
I mean, it is for me. I have a full-time job now.
Everybody wants a slice of that cake.
Yeah, I'm open source has become its own kind of brand, right? There's a lot of investment in open source also to get to a point where you can then have an enterprise version of that open source project, but then you already have, the go-to market because now you've already have all the users, the open source distro users, and you have some free laborers maybe because you have the contributions from the open source community. So it is pretty attractive in early stages of your startup. That's why there's so many open source startups. There's a lot of money there. And then sometimes it goes kind of not super great, as we've seen recently, when companies then are like, okay, now we want to make money, actually. And that can be a bit frustrating, especially if you look at projects and you kind of get the feeling, I don't think they want to actually have this forever as open source. It feels this is just a taste, and then we're gonna yank the bottom from out under you. But I wouldn't say it's too much. I'm happy to see that there's so much variety in open source. There's, again, a lot of ways to solve a problem. And I'm happy that a lot of them are provided by the community for the community and not just hidden behind a proprietary product. I think that's great because it fosters collaboration and also, of course, competition maybe to make something better. So the only thing is that I wish that there were more people involved. So if you listen to this, please join our Slack.
Yeah,
the
just take it
CNCF
away.
stack, it's tag-app-delivery. Just join our meetings.
And
if you like.
if you get involved, and that's also often people want to know, if you get involved, how much time do you...
Depends on what you want to do. Like, you could just sit there and listen to the meetings or read the notes. Like, easy things could be that you just get involved when we review projects. So you just sit in the presentation, you look at it, you ask some questions, and maybe then you send a Slack message, I think this is not a good project because this is my opinion, blah, blah, blah. Then it's just that, right? Maybe you want to be a bit more involved and you want to join a working group, so you just go to their meetings and then they work on something and you're like, oh, I'm going to pick it up. I know this person from this company, I'm going to speak to them because we want to get their opinion on something. If you really want to get involved, you might want to become part of the leadership team, which is great. Then you want to maybe join the meetings more regularly. You might want to help organize, our appearance at KubeCon. We usually have a booth at KubeCon, talk to people about our work. Or maybe you just have an idea like, hey, I would like it if we did a survey about this and that at the next KubeCon. How can we do that? Like, it's whatever. We will see. It's basically just the idea to bring community members together who are interested in the topic of cloud native app delivery and want to do something. That's the only thing that we it's nice to just talk, but we do want to produce something of value to the community.
Sure.
Yeah. And do you need some... are the prerequisites? Do you need to know something? Do you need to be already active in the community, or do you need to have a technical depth knowledge to start?
I don't think necessarily. Again, it depends on what you want to do. If you're just a fantastic project manager and you just want to manage our meetings, please reach out to me. That would be fantastic. No, you can just, as they say, carry water, chop wood. That's great. We need mostly that, because there's a lot of people who are like, I have this fantastic idea. I want to do this amazing thing. Like, okay, well, how would you go about executing on your idea? Oh, I haven't thought that far, that's difficult because we don't have the human power to like accommodate every single idea.
Yeah, you crash the party because you ask the difficult questions of the difficult questions.
Well, it's more about
practical.
Like, there's the ideal of like all the things that we could do, but then we are all volunteers doing this next to our like actual jobs that actually pay us. So there's only so much energy that people have.
Yeah.
So if you come with a great idea, that's fantastic. But maybe you also need to find people who help you with executing on that idea. You could find that in the group. If your idea is amazing, propose it, come to our meetings, write it in the Slack channel. And maybe you can find people who are like, oh, I'd love this. That's how most working groups start. But we're working with the CNCF. There's a bit of bureaucracy involved. So what we're definitely looking for are people who have the stamina to actually be involved in something for like half a year or so. It doesn't have to be every week you have to be there for an hour. But if you only are willing to do something for like a month, then maybe not a working group. Maybe more like, oh, I want to review a project and then it's done after like one meeting or something. But sometimes, so first of all, we have a website. You can look it up there. It's tagappdelivery.cncf.io. There's a contribute section. You can read up on like what you could do to get started. Or you just ask. That's also fine. We're happy to. I mean, if you want to do something, then we're happy to like let you know what you can.
We will put all the links in the description of the podcast. Or they can find you on LinkedIn.
They can also find me on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Awesome. I think we'll review a package or do something.
I think the next thing that we're reviewing on October 2nd is SynGit, which is a tool that if I didn't read the entire thing, but I think what it does is it syncs your cluster state back into Git or like specific resources that you want to
that's
take
awesome.
a look at. Yeah, just to keep things kind of in sync. That's why it's
all right.
SynGit. Yeah. So
I have a script for that.
Well, maybe you could like support this open source tool that wants to become a sandbox project, or you can, look at it and see how the others do it, and then be like, I can do it better.
In our podcast, can that be an open source?
I'm afraid not.
No, you can. Yeah, you could try.
Oh, I would-
You try. So we always have a final question,
Okay.
and don't be scared. It's
Is the answer Kubernetes?
could be,
Then I
could
don't
be.
know.
It's part of the question. If I would put a crystal ball here on the table, where would you like to see the future of Kubernetes go?
Oh my God. I would like to see the Kubernetes. I don't actually know, and I don't actually think that much about the future of the technology. I think, if anything, I would. I think Kubernetes already has become much like something else than maybe the creators thought it would be. Like, it was a container runtime at first. Now it's like this orchestration tool for all kinds of infrastructure. So I think that's because of the ease of use and the reconciliation loop, I guess. So I guess what I would like to see it go is it becoming even like a simpler tool to do that, to help kind of like create an API to the world of infrastructure. That would be nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a nice takeaway.
An API for the world of infrastructure.
Yeah, there's a lot of tools.
Sounds like a
already
cool
kind of do
podcast
that.
title.
Okay. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you very much
for your time.
For your time, and well, I hope to see you again in the future.
Yeah, well, KubeCon Amsterdam will probably be like a good chance for that, right?
Okay.
Coming back in 2026.
26. Yes. Okay. Well, see you then.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Bye. Deze podcast is een initiatief van ACC ICT en wij zijn te beluisteren op onze website k8spodcast.nl via Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast en alle andere favoriete podcastproviders.